as a cashier. I've worked at Whole Foods as an Amazon shopper. And I've worked at 2 different Targets. And of all those places, I have to say Target was the one with the most problems I've had. I never realized how lucky I was to never have to deal with horrible people, especially people that worked there, until I worked at Target. I could spend another hour telling you of all the stories of horrible people I had to deal with, especially coworkers and leaders. But the real problem is favoritism. And I know, it's like, if I hate it that much, why can't I just find another job? But of course, like I said, I feel like Target is probably the best place to work. So it's really annoying when favoritism plays a part. And I know favoritism is everywhere, but I feel like Target, of all places, should have some kind of system where it doesn't affect anyone negatively, or even positively. So like I said, I do have solutions, but I'm gonna complain before I get to them. So I started working at Target 3 years ago, almost 4, as a cashier. And I remember my first day, I was ringing people up, and this one person, after I was done, I gave him the receipt. And he looked at me and asked if I was mentally retarded. I was so taken back, and he said because I was so slow. I could have told him it was my first day, but I was so taken back. So I just said, oh, thank you, have a nice day, and all that. And that was not the only time. I don't know if it was right after or a couple guesses after, but someone else said the exact same thing. And I know it's not Target's fault, and it's not that they should do something about that. I'm just saying that of all the places I've worked, Target is the place where I've experienced that, and a lot of things like that. Maybe I am holding Target to a higher standard, but I'm gonna hold the people higher up at a higher standard, because if they really need more people and to have them actually stay, they have to work with the lower downs, or else we're gonna leave. So of course the first couple days at Target was horrible and I wanted to quit, but after a while I got better at it. I got faster, and it was fine. But then after a while I was like starting to realize how busy it was. There was always a line. It was non-stop people, even when they weren't busy. There was person after person. Right after I was done finishing ringing up a guest, a person would come right after. And like I've said in my other video, I'm already the worst at talking, so this is not helping at all. It was making it even worse. At my other jobs, I would stay and talk to people after work, and I made some friends. But at Target, once I was done, I needed to leave because I was so emotionally drained. So after like maybe a year, I tried changing departments. I tried like going to self-checkout. I tried guest services and anything else but the cashier because it's constant, And they did let me for a while like do self-checkout. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's a lot better than cashier. Even guest service was a lot better. But even then, they still kept putting me at the register. So maybe like 2 years later, I asked to change to a different department, and they said I couldn't, that they needed me at the front. So I asked if I could transfer a different time, not right after that. And they said I had to wait a year because I hit compliance. When it wasn't my fault, it was the manager's fault for not planning the lunches right. But so I waited a year, and when it finally came, I transferred. And right when I transferred the first day, it was exactly like the other one. And I know I transferred as a cashier, but I thought maybe I could try like doing self-checkout or anything else. Here I was thinking that if I transferred to a different location, I could change departments and everything would be better. But then I run into this manager that doesn't like me. I remember another time I was cleaning carts, and she didn't like that I wasn't saying hi to every single guest, which I was, but not loud enough for her. So she has me switch out with the person in self-checkout, and then she has another person have me switch out with them, so she could put me on a lane. Like, why couldn't you just have me at self-checkout? It's like she wanted to punish me for not doing what she wanted. So I talked to her. I said, is it alright if I can stay at self-checkout because being on a lane is so overwhelming and stressful for me? And she basically blames me for choosing this department. So of course I just go on a lane. I didn't want to be that kind of person. And then I ended up venting to this customer that asked how I was doing, and I told her how I was doing. Later on, I was able to transfer or change departments, thankfully. It changed to fulfillment, where you do online orders, and that has its own stress, but it was so much more tolerable than being at the lane. And I've been a cashier at other places like Party City. It's just the amount of people that's overwhelming. So fulfillment has its own things, like having to be on a timer. They're busy even in the store, like shopping. Like, I don't mind shopping, but I go shopping when there's less people. And it's like, now I can't because I'm there 8 hours a day. So I'm gonna hit the busy hours. And it's like when I'm walking behind an old lady or almost hit this little kid running across the room, I only mind it because we're on a timer. Like if you put that in consideration, that we're running across with all these people in the way, that would help us not to actually hit someone, which people have done. Thankfully I haven't. I could keep complaining, but I've already filmed this so many times, so I don't want to keep complaining. They could do so many things to improve and to help prevent other problems from happening, but they don't. I don't even know if they're even thinking of it, because there's so many things they can do that are as simple as having a feature that if something is out of stock or harder to find, you could easily press a button and inform the guests that they need more time to find this item, so it might take longer. And take it a step further, that the guest could even say, oh, that's okay, they don't want that one item. They could have replacement items. They could do so many things with just the app alone, and with that alone. You know, it's like every other store. They care so much more about the guests than their actual workers. Another thing, when I did drive up and order pickup, they always complain about people saying that they're on their way and then they're already right there in 2 seconds. That right there is the problem they should have fixed years ago, that they could easily have this feature that keeps reminding the guests to give them time to prepare their order so that it's ready when they're there. Even the fact that there's so many orders at once, shouldn't they have a limit? Especially if they're gonna have 2 people in order pickup. Either put a limit of how many people can order or have more people work at order pickup. But obviously, if they're gonna give more hours to a department, it needs to be for cashiers. If any department needs help, cashiers the one place. They just need to have more cashiers there and people that want to do it, you know. And if they're just gonna be standing around, let them stand around. They're gonna need them at some point. You can obviously have them doing other tasks, but they're gonna be useful at one point. You know, all those things can be easily solved just from the app itself. But I really feel like a lot of the leaders have too much power to where they could just choose who they like and who they're gonna respect. I really feel like Target should be the first place where they won't allow that. But maybe that's asking for too much from them. And I understand if I hate it this much, I could just find another job and not complain. But like I said, I do love Target and I love working for them. But they're not helping me and other people. It's not just me. I understand there's so many other worse things in the world. And this is just my little dumb problem. And others too, probably. But we have to start somewhere. It's just really frustrating because I've been there. This will be my 4th year. So obviously it's like a relationship. I'm trying to make it work, but they're not working for me. So I'm getting to that point where I need to leave. So if anyone stumbles across this video and wants to know what it's like working at Target, you obviously won't know until you try. And I would suggest that you should. You know, it really depends on you, the people that work there, and the place, the location. And obviously, it's not going to be perfect. And I'm not asking for it to be perfect with this video. I'm just asking for it to be tolerable, you know, and for respect from, especially from leaders. I do love Target and I love, like, all the free bags and things that they give out. You know, like Party City merch I wouldn't really want to buy or have. But like the Target merch, I love Target so much that I want the merch and all that. So if you want to try it, it might be better for you, especially if you're an extrovert. But even if you're an extrovert, if a manager decides they don't like you, it could affect you negatively. It could all be petty stuff, but I guess it could eventually evolve into something you can actually talk to HR about, which is not a good thing. It's not something you'd want to hope for, but it's something they could actually have to fix. And I'm just saying, can you fix this problem before it gets worse, before it even gets to that point? Because at the end of the day, this is going to be everywhere, you know? And I've always thought if I'm going to work in retail, might as well be Target where I go all the time. You know, it's probably the nicest one of all the stores. So you might have a different experience from me, and you probably will. But these are still little problems that they need to fix. I don't know if any of that made any sense. If I just wasted another, who knows how many minutes this ends up being. Wasting my time crying about this again. But like I said, overall, even though Target was the worst place and the most problems I've had, it's obviously worth trying to save the relationship. Even though, like, I'm at the point I need to find something else if they don't fix this. I could imagine Target being like working at Disneyland, except everyone's mad instead of happy. You know, there's people that are there to go in and out, and then there's the people that expect the absolute most from you and Target. And it's like, if